Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another deck report. This is season 5, week number 7, and I'm profiling something a little bit different than what you're used to seeing this channel. Firstly, a little bit of housekeeping before I do the deck profile. I do have my PC back. I am going to do a lot more concrete deck reports. And I'll probably try to do other videos on the week as well. The audio quality for this particular video is not gonna sound very crisp because one, I am not on my OBS setup at the moment. The last time I tried to do OBS, I had all the filters on. I had the correct filters like correspondent. I double checked the mic, and I still had audio issues, and I still don't know what's going on with them. So I kind of want to give that second look before doing videos under another edited format. Shoutouts to One Rocky Boy. He lended me the Labrynth cards. Shoutouts to Carlos Baez. You already seen him on the channel. He made top 64 at YCS Orlando with Malice. He played this on Thursday, and after that match, we talked a bit of theory. I asked him for his list, and I did a couple of changes to it, and I tweaked it to my favor, and the deck worked phenomenally. Carlos ended up undefeated on Thursday in at locals, and I ended up on second place, which could have been undefeated because I had the same record as the first place player. Shout out to Diego. So that already, like, the fact that like Labrynth made two back-to-back tops, and not only tops but almost wins at my locals, kind of tells you that the deck is actually looking really good right now. I will talk more on that a little bit later. Shouts to Prophecy Wiz. He is a YouTuber. I will post his channel in the description. Probably one of his Labrynth videos. He has been on Labrynth for a while now, and he has been talking about how the deck is actually a comfortable pick this format, and I actually do see it. I actually do think Prophecy Wiz is a little bit on the ballpark. I'm not a fan of the way he built the deck, but I am a fan of his explanations behind it and the reasoning and the theory behind why the deck is actually good this format. But yeah, that's shouts to Armando. There is a particular card in this list that he did lend me, and I didn't have the cards. Shout out to J1. He lended me Dominus Impulse because I had mine moved away. So I think that's it for all the shoutouts and like all the housekeeping before the deck profile. I'll showcase the list, and then I'll go through the rounds that I played and why do I think this is a comfortable pick this format. This was originally going to be deck for next week, but something happened on yesterday on Sunday that made me play this deck a little bit earlier. Alright, let's begin. So 3 Ariana, 3 Arias, 2 Stovies, 2 Chandeliers, 1 Kuklok, 2 Lady Labrynth, 1 Lovely Labrynth. A little bit of a side tangent. I think the alt art should have been on Lovely instead of Lady. I really like the original art from Lady a lot more than I do Lovely. But that's a small tangent on my end. Moving on. 3 Extravers, 1 Labrynth. For traps, a lot of them. 3 Welcome, 3 Big Welcome, 3 Imperms, 3 Impulse. Shouts to Armando. The card I was talking about that he lended me was 3 Black Goat Laughs, 3 Karma Cannons, 2 Trap Tricks, and 2 Transaction Rollbacks. That's it for the main deck. It's exactly 40 cards. 14 monsters, 4 spells, and 22 traps. I mentioned all the ratios this time. Extra deck. I've only made 1 extra deck monster this week. Mainly because, again, this is an Extravagance deck, and I did draw Extravagance quite a number of times. The only monster I've made the entire weekend was Muckcracker. As for the rest of them, a lot of these don't matter. The deck was literally the deck was literally made at last minute, which I will explain later. But Entis, Chimera, Meteorologic. I was playing Dogmatica Punishment in this build, so if you still choose to play that, you can play these cards. Double Typhon, Omega, Malong. Again, this goes back with the Dogmatica cards. 2 Chaos Angels, 1 Yama, 1 SP, 1 Unicorn, 1 Access Code, and 1 Goddess. Again, the only card I made this week was Muck. I did not make any single other monster, not even Chaos Angel. And I had the opportunity to make Chaos Angel a couple of times. Same with Typhon. Side deck, 2 Parolias, 3 Fuwalas, 3 Phantasmes. Really good card in this deck. 3 Drolls, 1 Dimensional Barrier, and one of the MVPs this week. I cannot stress how really good this card is. Like, this card is probably going to be a side deck staple in this deck from now on, at least in my book. 3 Mischief of the Gnomes. But yeah, let's get started. Why did I choose to play Labrynth? So, on Thursday, I played against Carlos Baez, which I mentioned beforehand. And after my duel with him, I was playing Malice. Let me know in the comments if you still want to watch the Malice profile that I did on Thursday. That I played on Thursday. I ended X2. It is basically a standard Malice list that you will expect from pretty much anyone, with a few flip-flop ratios. But on Thursday, I played against Carlos. He ended up undefeated that day, and it went to game 3. But my Malice hand was really good. His Labrynth hand was broken. Like, I think on game 3 he opened Labrynth, Prosperity, Impulse, Aria, and Big Welcome. I think that was his hand. And doing the extra, I know for a fact that he drew Ariana. And the last card I think he drew was Karma Cannon. So this was basically his hand turn 1. Like, after the extra resolved, and this is a custom hand. If you don't know what this is, like, you already have your Labrynth set up, you have your starter. In the off chance that you get ashed or like stopped or whatever, you can bring back Arias, and that can make and like another play for the next turn. Like, if they didn't ash Ariana, you already have a guaranteed trap for the next turn. In the off chance they do stop Big Welcome, like, It was a really good hand, and but to back it up, he had dimples, which is really broken. When after I saw that, I like after the match we just talked about it a little bit, and we just arrived at the same conclusion that this deck has almost no weaknesses this format. Like, yes, Ash Blossom and Ghost Belt are an issue, and Dominus Impulse, if they do it on the right time, it could stop a few of your cards. But like Arias, backed up by like one of the power traps, like backed up like with, for example, a Karma Cannon or Trap Trick or like a Black Goat, which I will explain, or like just one of the welcome traps. Like Arias backed up with like any of these, it's just as powerful as any other hand trap this format. And that's not even talking about the furnishers. That's not even talking about transaction rollback. That's like the fact that this is an impulse deck is already really strong. Like any deck that can play Dominus Impulse should be respected in this format, and this is like one of the best impulse decks. This deck is well positioned into mulcharmies. Like mulcharmies don't really hurt this deck. I did misplay into a double Fualas, like on the last round, and that was my loss of the match. And I still think that game could have been a lot better handled. Like my Malice opponent literally told me that if I would have played it like like maneuvered my interruptions a little bit better, like I 100% had that match. So the fact that I ended on second place, and the fact that what made me not be first place was just a little slight misstep with the sequencing on my cards into a card that's not really that good against our deck, already tells you just how powerful this deck is. Like just how very comfortable it is. Like not many decks can handle like the power traps, like Daruma Karma Cannon. This card solos Ryzeal. Like your opponent can even end on Detonator, and you can be at a position where you just set this, and if they try to commit into their board, you just flip this against them, and it's just curtains. Uh, Against Mitsurugi, impulses are already really good. Black Goat Laughs. This card is actually really strong against Mitsu. Let's say, for example, like your opponent has like the Habakiri play, and they get to Saji and Ritual Spell and everything. You can just activate Arias, set the Black Goat, and just call Murakumo. And you don't have to deal with Murakumo anymore. And this basically becomes like a second impulse, like against that deck. In the off chance they do have the Murakumo, and you try to commit into them, like into like breaking their board or playing their game, and they have their Murakumo in order to like force you to discard. This is a really good discard that you can just discard and then just freeze Murakumo if their opponent tries to do like the Raigeki effect, or you can freeze Detonator with this as well. Like it's just a really good card in this deck, and not many decks in the format can stop this card. Like is very well positioned to Mitsurugi, is also really well positioned to Malice as well. Like I had a duel where I opened two of the furnishers. I think it was this and this, and I opened Black Goat, and I also opened Rollback. Like this was my hand going second into a Malice player, and this is a really broken hand because not only do you have your two welcomes set up for your next turn, you can roll back in order to freeze a Malice name from popping out, like with the Black Goat Laughs, and then use the Black Goat Laughs to just stop another Malice like interaction, like altogether. and that's really really strong. Like a lot of decks cannot handle this combination of cards, and what makes this a hand like already broken is the fact that you get to set up welcome and big welcome for your next turn, like already. So that's another really cool thing, like about the deck in general. There was one game, it was against White Forest, and I managed to end with lovely Labrynth on the board on turn one, and I had this alongside Big Welcome, and this is an awkward combination for your opponent because my opponent drew Fua lost for turn. They drew into Fua, and basically, if they use turn player priority to like dump the Fua, you chain the Big Welcome to the Fua. This will nuke another card out of their hand. They didn't get the Fua draw, and it just dwindled the resources a lot more. And you're getting your Labrynth set up properly. If you flip this and they don't chain Fua, they cannot respond to Big Welcome because of Lovely Labrynth's passive effect that your opponent cannot respond with monsters. So it's just very, very awkward for the Fua loss player. So that is something that did come up. Another really cool thing is like I actually trap tricked for impulse like 3 times. I literally use trap tricks to get impulse and set the impulse and use impulse as another like interruption against my opponent, and it won me every single game that I did that. I reset it back impulse with Lady with Lovely Labrynth like a couple times as well. So that's another really cool interaction. Like small hot take, I think this card will get limited like before the end of 2025. This card is just really really good this format, and the fact that the 2 best decks right now are playing this card in their decks, it just kind of tells you just how absurd the role behind this card is in the current TCG format. So if we go to the side deck real quick, I kind of want to talk about this card. This card is broken against Mitsurizio. Like, if you go second and you open this card alongside like any of the furnitures, let's say this or this or this, like if you open any combination of these with Mischief, your Raizio Mitsurugi opponent is not playing for 2 turns. Or, I mean, it's not. They're not playing the game. If you opened Arias with the Mischief, they're not playing for 2 turns. Like, it's really hard for them to play around this card. Even more so when you're doing it on turn 0. So, if you are to play Labrynth in the future, I highly recommend Gnomes. I think this card is really, really good. This card really solves your Mitsurugi matchup. Well, at least the Raizio version of Mitsurugi specifically. Every time I flipped this card against that deck, it was just a blowout. I liked it a lot more than Dimensional Barrier. It was just that strong of a card. And that's a lot to say because Dimensional Barrier is a really, really strong card. And the fact that we have a card that's just as good and it's not once per turn, that's another really important detail. Because sometimes when you play against the Raizio Mitsurugi deck, some people will try to play around it. Like, one example I can give you is that they try to summon level 7 from their hand by sending a level 3 from their hand and a level 4 from the deck. after you flipped it, this card is not once per turn. So you can banish it from the graveyard and just reduce their levels again, and they just lost their ritual spell. And it just becomes a lot more awkward. There are some instances where they summon monsters from the deck, like for example Ice Ryziel, and this still is really strong because again the Ice Ryziel is level 3 and whatever they're summoning is level 4. So you cannot make proper SYC plays with those unless you are like in one of those positions where you do something like for example you summon Node Ryziel and then you use the Node Ryziel to bring back from the graveyard and they're both level 4, something like that. But again, they have to sequence their cards properly to play around this card, and not like that's really hard for the Ryziel Mitsu opponent. I never drew Droll, so I don't know how I feel about Droll. This probably will become mulcharmies Meows in the future. I drew Phantasmate twice against Malice. Really good card. Like, the fact... So, I want to talk about this real quick. So, this was my approach for Malice when I went second. I just maxed out on these cards. You don't need Lancia and you don't need Chaos Hunter to beat that deck with this deck. If you get to your Furniture plus Trap setup, like for example Aria Trap Trick, you're already ahead of the game. Like you're already good. You're already fine. You do have to be careful with the Malice matchup because they do play Linger and Linger is really strong against our deck, and that's where the Black Goat also comes in. You can use Black Goat Laughs. Like let's say for example you have Furniture plus Black Goat plus another trap interaction, like let's say an Impulse. You can use Furniture to dip the Black Goat and use the Black Goat to call Linger and your opponent's Linger is no longer functionable, which means you can use the Impulse to just catch them off guard. That did come up twice. So that's another really neat interaction against Malice that you should be wary of. But yeah, like after playtesting, well, Carlos playtesting against me, we both arrived at the conclusion that Lancia is just not worth it in this deck. You don't want your Malice opponent to make a strong board, but you have other ways to stop them from doing that besides just like anti-Malice cards. And the more draws they give you with these cards, like the better cards you're going to draw against your Malice opponent when they have the entire setup. Like let's say for example your Malice opponent ends on the Echo Talker board, and you drew into like double Karma Cannon, or you drew into Karma Cannon plus Imperm. All of a sudden, you now have a way to like board wipe their deck and blow them out, and use having your Labrynth set up to just control the game. So that's like one of those really cool mentions. It feels awkward to say this, but I don't think Dimensional Barrier is no longer a staple in Labrynth. I will still play it just because it's a really good card. But that being said, you can make do without Dimensional Barrier. I do highly recommend Mischief for the Gnomes though. Like this card is just way too good in this deck, especially since it works from the graveyard. So I am grinding for the NAWCQ. There are a few deck options that I already am thinking about, and after this week's performance, I just do think that Labrynth is a really good contender for the NAWCQ season. Like, it's not on a lot of people's radar. Its Malice matchup is not that bad if you know what you're doing. The Mitsurugi matchup is actually not that bad. It's another Impulse deck, which is really important. And like I've already like theorized this deck against like the newer decks that are coming out in the future. Like one big example I can give you is Lunalight. That is a really scary deck, and a lot of people don't know what Lunalights do. This card is really good against the Lunalight deck. Like this card really solos that matchup, and the fact that this deck can play three of it and play it efficiently is something really high to consider. This card is also really broken against Vanquish Soul, and as you guys already know, the K9 Vanquish Soul deck is the best deck in the OCG right now. So just having a card that's just really good against the matchup is also very welcomed, and this deck can play it better than others. This deck is not bad into the Justice Hunter decks. Like it's very fairly good against Draco Tail. It's fairly good against K9 variants. Yummy is one of those other weird matchups, but like again, like this card just solos the Yummy deck. Like I don't think I need to explain that part. But yeah, I really like this deck. If you are looking for a deck this format that's not Mitsu or Malice, and you really want to do well this format, I do think this deck is a really good solid choice. That's it from me. I again shoutouts to one Rocky Boy for lending me almost the entire deck. Shoutouts to Armando for lending me the Black Goats. Shoutouts to Carlos Baez. Like talking the deck with him was a really good idea this week. Shoutouts to J1 for lending me Impulse. I don't even know if he'll see this video or not, but I give credit where credit is due. Yeah, shouts to everybody at my locals. Titan Games, really good locals. I actually do have very fun every week. I don't remember if I mentioned them, but I am going to post Prophecy Wiz on the channel description. He has been talking about this deck for a while now. I don't really like his build, but I do think he is in the right ballpark, thinking that Labrynth is actually really good this format. So I will post that in the video description for people that just want a little bit more in-depth Labrynth talk besides just me, and see it from another player's perspective, one that actually has topped YCSs and like big events. But yeah, enough rambling. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this deck report. Again, the audio quality is not going to be the best for this video just because I'm not in my OBS setup. I will try to get that set up properly this week, and we'll go from there. Until next time, keep practicing and keep dueling.